Hey everyone, and welcome back. Ready for another deep dive? Today we're going to be exploring Osho's thoughts on life and death, and what might be next. And look, we're not here to convert you. Okay, we just want to kind of understand this different way of thinking about these big questions. The stuff that keeps us up at night. And the interesting thing is Osho. Well, he kind of flips the script. He says, "Death isn't the opposite of life."
Yeah, that's right. He doesn't see it as this enemy. He sees death as a natural part of life. Like two sides of the same coin.
Okay, so it's not like the big scary ending that we often make it out to be in like movies and, scary stories.
Well, not exactly. I mean, think of it like a river. Okay,
Yeah.
it's constantly flowing and it's always changing and carving these new paths. That's kind of like consciousness, according to Osho. It doesn't
Mhm.
end, it just transforms.
So like that river, we're always in motion, always changing forms. I mean, that makes the idea of ending seem kind of off, doesn't it? But if it's not the body we're losing, then what are we so afraid of? Like, what is it about death that freaks us out so much?
Well, Osho would say it's the fear of the unknown. It's the mind just struggling with uncertainty and what's going to happen next. But he's pointing out that we are consciousness. We're not just our physical selves. It's much bigger than that.
So our bodies are like outfits that we wear, and death is just a change of clothes.
Mm.
I like that.
hmm
But what happens to that consciousness after the outfit change? Do we go to heaven? Do we get reincarnated? Like, what happens?
Well, this is where Osho throws us a bit of a curveball. He didn't really claim to have all the answers about what happens after death.
So no insider info on the afterlife. Bummer.
Nope. And he actually believed that anyone claiming to know for sure was probably mistaken. I mean, after all, it's kind of beyond what our minds can even grasp right now. It's almost like trying to explain the internet to a caveman.
Yeah, good point.
Huh.
So if we can't know for sure and we're not supposed to be afraid of it,
Yeah.
how do we even approach death?
Osho's advice is surprisingly simple. He says, live fully now. Don't put off your happiness, okay? Or wait for that perfect moment because someday might never come.
So it's not about like figuring out the afterlife puzzle. It's about making the most of this life right now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty profound when you think about it.
Absolutely. He believed that when we live fully in each moment, then death just becomes a natural transition. It's not something to fear anymore.
Yeah.
It's like if you're so busy worrying about like getting to your destination that you miss all the scenery along the way.
Right.
Osho's big focus was on savoring every moment of the journey, not just reaching that final stop.
I get it. Like being so focused on getting to the top of a mountain that you forget to look around and appreciate the view while you're climbing.
Exactly. And Osho would say that those moments of awe and appreciation, like really connecting with nature or even with yourself, that's what makes life rich and fulfilling. It's about the experience.
So how do we actually shift from just existing to truly living? Is there like a secret formula? I mean, some people seem to just get it naturally.
Well, no magic formula, unfortunately, but Osho really emphasized things like mindfulness and meditation, practices that can help us become more present, more aware of our thoughts and feelings, to quiet the mind a little bit.
So it's about tuning in to what's happening right now instead of
hmm
getting lost in, worries about the past or anxieties about the future.
Yep.
Just being here now.
Yeah, that's the essence of it. It's about noticing the beauty of a sunset,
Yeah.
or savoring a delicious meal, or really listening to a loved one. It's about experiencing life with all your senses instead of just going through the motions.
Yeah, I could see how that ties back to the idea of being consciousness. If we're constantly distracted by external things, we kind of lose touch with that inner awareness. It's like we're sleepwalking through life.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. And Osho believed that by cultivating this inner awareness, we could actually break free from those patterns, those patterns of distraction and fear, and we start to see the world with fresh eyes. And death becomes less of a threat and more of a natural part of the cycle.
So instead of fearing the unknown, we embrace the mystery and focus on making the most of the present moment. It sounds like a much more empowering way to approach life and death.
Absolutely. And it's not about denying the challenges or difficulties that life throws our way either. It's about facing them with a sense of awareness and acceptance, knowing that everything is impermanent and that even pain and sorrow, they're part of the tapestry of life.
I think a lot of people struggle with that idea of accepting the bad along with the good. It's just human nature,
Yeah,
to want to avoid pain and suffering at all costs.
of course. But Osho would say that by resisting those experiences, by trying to control them or deny them, we actually create more suffering for ourselves. It's like trying to hold on to a handful of sand. The tighter you grip it, the more slips through your fingers.
So it's about letting go of that need to control everything and trusting the natural flow of life. even when it feels uncomfortable or even scary.
Precisely. And that trust, that surrender to the unknown, that's where real freedom lies. It's where we find the courage to live authentically, to follow our passions, and to make the most of every precious moment we're given.
That's pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah.
But earlier you mentioned that Osho believed that contemplating the afterlife could be valuable. So how does thinking about what happens after we die help us live better now? It seems kind of counterintuitive.
Well, it's all about perspective. When we contemplate the vastness of existence, the mystery of what might lie beyond our current understanding it can help us detach,
Yeah.
from those small, insignificant worries that consume our daily lives.
So it's like gaining a cosmic perspective. Suddenly that traffic jam doesn't seem like such a huge deal when you consider, the age of the universe in the grand scheme of things.
Exactly. By contemplating our own mortality, we can gain a newfound appreciation for the preciousness of life. It helps us prioritize what truly matters and let go of the things that don't.
It's like that saying, don't sweat the small stuff. But instead of just being a cliche, it becomes like a deeply felt truth when you consider the bigger picture.
Right. And that's where Osho's teachings become truly transformative. It's not just about understanding his ideas intellectually, but about integrating them into our daily lives, using them as a lens to view the world and our place within it.
This has been an incredibly insightful deep dive. Osho's perspective on life and death, it really makes you think differently about both.
Yeah, and it all comes back to that central question that Osho posed. Are you truly living or are you simply existing?
Yeah, that is a powerful question, and one I think we all need to ask ourselves, every now and then. But before we wrap up, I want to go back to something you mentioned about living fully now. It's easy to just say those words, right? But how do we actually put that into practice?
hmm
I mean, life gets busy. It's hard to stay present all the time, you know?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's not about achieving some perfect state of constant presence. It's more about, cultivating a habit of awareness, of just checking in with yourself throughout the day. Osho wasn't suggesting we all become monks and, go meditate in caves or anything like that. He was just advocating for a more conscious way of living, finding those moments of presence in the midst of all the chaos of everyday life.
Okay, so what are some like simple ways to bring more awareness into our daily routine? Things that anyone can do even if they're super busy.
Well, it could be as simple as just taking a few deep breaths before you start your workday, really savoring your morning coffee instead of just gulping it down,
Mhm.
or taking a walk in nature and really paying attention to the sights and the sounds and the sensations. It's about finding those little pockets of stillness throughout the day where you can just reconnect with yourself.
So it's not about making like huge drastic changes. It's about finding those small opportunities to kind of shift our focus and be a little more present.
Exactly. And as you start to practice this, you'll find that those moments of presence, they kind of expand naturally. You might notice yourself becoming more patient in traffic or more attentive in conversations or just more appreciative of those simple things in life.
It sounds like a gradual process of waking up to the beauty and the richness that's already all around us. Instead of chasing some distant future happiness, we start to recognize the joy that's available in the present moment.
You got it. And that's where Osho's teachings become truly liberating. We stop postponing our happiness and we start living it now. We let go of that fear of death because we're no longer clinging to life as something that's going to be, snatched away from us at any moment.
Mm.
We realize that life and death are just two sides of the same coin, two expressions of the same eternal dance of existence.
This has been a truly mind-expanding deep dive. Osho's perspective on life and death really offers a refreshing alternative to our usual fear-based approach. It's not about denying death, but about embracing life so fully that death becomes simply a natural transition, a new chapter in the unfolding story of consciousness.
Beautifully put. And ultimately, the journey of self-discovery. Osho encouraged us to find our own path, to explore different practices and perspectives, and to create a life that reflects our unique understanding of what it means to be truly alive.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Osho's teachings, I'll leave you with this. What will you do today to savor the present moment? How will you live fully now?
It's a question worth pondering as we navigate the mysteries and wonders of this incredible journey we call life.